We start with the COVID-19 situation. The daily tally is expected to jump by around 1,000 cases today, but there is a definite overall decline in the number of infections.
And this comes amid the country's struggles against pushback over vaccine pass mandates. For more on this and other updates, we are joined by Choi Min-jung in the studio with us. Good morning, Min-jung.
Good morning.
So tell us with the latest situation here in South Korea. How many cases are we expecting?
Well, Mok-yeon, we're expecting today's cases to surpass the 4,000 mark. From midnight to 9 p.m. on Tuesday, South Korea reported close to 3,700 cases. And compared to a day ago, this is up by close to 1,000 cases. Although there is a big jump in the number of infections, it's mostly because we usually tend to see cases increasing as we get further into the week. And overall, there is a downward trend as cases dropped by 1,000 since last week and by more than 2,000 from 2 weeks ago.
Now, a South Korean court has blocked part of the government's vaccine pass mandate in regards to educational facilities. Explain more about that.
Right. Vaccine pass mandates have been suspended for cram schools, study cafes, as well as other educational facilities. Since early December, the government imposed the mandates at these facilities to reduce the number of infections among unvaccinated people and also as a measure to encourage vaccinations. However, the South Korean court on Tuesday ruled that the system infringes on the rights of the unvaccinated to learn. It's the very first court ruling to put the brakes on the government's vaccine policy, and this also comes as the government faced strong backlash from parents and the industry, leading them to file complaints against the measure. The court added that it is hard to see that unvaccinated people pose any more risk in these facilities, considering the number of breakthrough infections among vaccinated people. Following the decision, the government expressed regret and said it will appeal the ruling immediately. Officials stressed that the pass is needed to protect the unvaccinated, as data shows that those who haven't received jabs are more likely to face critical illness after contracting the virus. But for the time being, the need for vaccine passes at educational facilities will be suspended until the actual trial takes place at a later date.
So, Min-jung, can we expect, with the current situation, can we expect this to influence teenagers as well?
Right. The ruling will indeed be important for teenagers in South Korea because the government plans to expand the current vaccine pass mandates to teenagers starting March, which means they will not be able to study at educational facilities without being vaccinated or producing a negative PCR test. Once we have a final ruling on the vaccine pass mandate, it will ultimately decide whether or not this measure will be implemented. The idea of a vaccine pass policy was to counter the rising number of infections among teenagers, but the court stressed that they have a relatively low possibility of becoming severely ill or die of COVID-19. Meanwhile, the vaccination rate among teenagers has increased with the government's decision to implement the passes. More than half of those aged 12 to 17 are now fully vaccinated, but we'll have to see whether the ruling will cause the vaccination rate to increase further.
Now, some are voicing concern over the government's policy. How are officials responding to that?
Well, there are growing concerns over the efficacy of the strengthened antivirus measures, including the vaccine pass mandates. And there has also been claims that natural immunity gives more protection than vaccinations. And regarding this, the government on Tuesday said that there is no available data to prove that it's the case and explained that natural immunity is relatively weaker when symptoms of the infection are mild. And in line with the government's effort to ramp up vaccinations, officials are reviewing plans to administer fourth shots to those with weak immune systems.
All right, Min-jung, thank you so much for your report. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.